Alright guys, hello again. I'm gonna check something. And yeah, it looks like you can hear me. My mic's not pointing in the right direction, but that's okay. If you guys are having a hard time hearing me, just drop it in the comments. And if it's just a little bit soft, don't worry about commenting about that. But only comment if it's like super low or uh, or non-existent. Sorry, just taking a second, cleaning my light off, cleaning my desk off too. It looks like I've got some paper mache going on over here. Horrible, nasty. Yeah, and then I'll just back. All right, guys. Well, hello again. This is Derek, and I am coming back at you with another one of my Marshals and Generals development blogs or dev blogs. I didn't wipe or clean this up here. Okay, so in today's dev blog, what I'm trying to do is determine command and control, and then what that means for our figures. What does that mean for the game? And so what I've done is I pulled out 3 brigades of infantry, even though they're not all the same nation. I got a British 4-battalion brigade. I've got a French 4-battalion brigade, and I have a French 3-battalion brigade, which probably should be a 4-battalion, but I'm not going to sweat it because I don't have another infantry battalion. I guess I could throw cavalry out there or something like that just to flesh it out, but that's not really what I'm trying to do right now. And then I put an artillery battery, and then each brigade has their brigade commander on a 30 millimeter base. And then I've got my division general on a 40 millimeter base. And then I've got my corps commander back here on a 50 millimeter base. Now, if I had an army general, he would be on a 60 millimeter base. But this exercise that I'm trying to do today, I'm going to jot some numbers down on paper. This is a practical application, really, is what I'm doing. I'm going to write some numbers down, and then later, off camera, I'll go into my document and I will update the numbers in the document. So you don't have to worry about that today. Off camera over here. Now that I've moved okay, I'm going to move this on my computer screen. Just bear with me. Have this. Yeah, if you chat with me, I probably will not see the chat. Just letting you know. Trying to give you the majority of the table. There we go. I mean, I could have zoomed back out, but um, then you really wouldn't see what I'm doing. Bear with me. I'm not in any rush to do this today because I got kind of a headache, to be honest. But I do want to do this, and I want to get it over with. I want to make progress on my rules. So I'm going to try to stay hydrated. All right. So the first thing, if you've been following my updates and my dev blogs and stuff like that, you know that I've been wanting in the past to either draw cards for my command or roll averaging dice for my companies, you know, to give my company, division commanders pips, and then those pips can be spent to activate battalions, stuff like that. Well, I've decided against that, 100%. Decided against that. I also was going to use base widths for ranges and for movement, which base widths like 3 base widths is 5 inches approximately. It's pretty close to it. That could very easily be the range of a musket, right? It really could be, because I was thinking somewhere around 6 inches, which at my ground scale, 1 inch is approximately 50 yards. So a 6-inch range is a 300-yard musket shot, which is really a long ways if you think about it in muskets. Yes, you can shoot 300 yards. That's 3 football fields. You could think about that. A musket shooting 3 football fields is not really something that was done, right? They would mark in the Zulu Wars, right? They would put stakes out at like every 25 yards because the accuracy of smoothbores is not very far. Now, rifled muskets, those can shoot quite a distance, like 450, but would they, even though the rifle could do that at the range or shooting at targets, no problem, but in practical application, they're really not shooting that far, right? But in my game, I'm, excuse the cough, in my game, I'm not actually taking skirmishers and putting them out front, saying that, okay, this battalion has skirmishers deployed. I'm not doing that, right? So what I'm doing is saying that, and a player playing the corps commander does not tell each of his battalions to deploy skirmishers or not. He relies on his brigade commanders to be telling his battalions to deploy skirmishers, or the battalion commanders, because there's officers in the battalion that know when and when not to deploy skirmishers. So that's not you as a player's job. See, that's part of my philosophy in this game, is that you as a player are playing the corps commander and not the battalion commander, okay? Or even the brigade commander, right? You issue orders to the brigade. Remember what Patton said. Patton said issue orders one level down, and then but know where your armies are at 2 levels down. So as a corps commander, you should know where your corps is, but you don't issue orders to, or your brigade, but you don't issue orders to the brigade. You issue orders to the division. And the division issues orders to the brigade commander, who issues orders to his battalions, who then in turn issues orders to his companies, and the company commander issues orders to their files and ranks and blah, 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 right? Okay. So what I am saying is that these battalion commanders have a skirmish screen in front of them. You just don't see them. Why? Because they're hiding. They're behind all the little bushes. Yeah, so, but no, they're not displayed, or there's no figures put out front. If you want to put some random figures out in front, as part of your collection, that'd be fine. But it's totally irrelevant. You don't need to do that, right? So there's no miniatures out here, but there are skirmishers out there. Okay, but ranges aren't measured to the skirmishers. But if I was shooting 6 inches, which winds up being that far, right? That's 6 inches. That's, to me, that doesn't look that far compared to the scale of the figure. But the figures are not to scale with the ground. The figures are 15 millimeters, right? Or let's just say 12.5 millimeters is half an inch. So these guys would be standing at 25 yards tall, right? They're 25-yard tall men. That is insane. But that's 3 football fields. Do I think that a musket should shoot that far? I don't. I really don't think that. I think it should shoot closer to maybe 4 inches, right? So, but I think what I'm going to do is, see, I've been thinking, I'm still debating this, whether or not I'm going to use inches for shooting and movement, or if I'm going to use base widths. Base widths will make it a lot easier to do math. It'll make it a lot easier to count, right? I could say 3 base widths for a musket and 4 base widths for a rifle. So the rifles have an advantage, but it's not a huge advantage. It's close to 2 inches. Now, a 3 base width musket shot is right there. That's still a pretty nice distance. That's basically 5 inches. Pretty close to 5 inches. Yeah. Just shy of 5 inches. I like that. I like that range. I'm going to write that down. I think I like base widths for ranges. But I don't know. I don't know yet. Musket 3BW, right? And then rifle. Now I could go 5 Because what I was going to do, if you can imagine, I was actually thinking of 9. I was thinking 6 and 9, which is half again as many. A 9 would put a rifle way out there. Right? That's really far for a rifle at this scale. That's 450 yards, which it's not too bad, but it's pretty far. Which would put that almost at 6 base widths. Now, if I did rifles at 5 base widths, okay, remember, muskets are at 3, but if I did rifles at 5, that still gives rifles a big difference, right? That gives them a good distance. How far is that? That's about 8 inches. Do I like that range? I'm just trying to visualize, the enemy shooting at targets. As a rifle. None of these guys are rifle equipped. They're all musket equipped anyway. But, so, if they were shooting at 3 base widths, they're only shooting there, which... Right? Yeah, there's 3. And there is 5. Right? So, muskets and rifles. Understand that this is a 6-foot wide table. You don't get to see the full width of the table. But, trying to see where my finger is on the camera. Okay, so you can see about 11 or a 12 inch. So there's another 11 inches off table right there. And then you can see the edge of the table. Right. You can't actually. It doesn't look like. There's another. Okay, there's another foot on both sides of this camera. Okay, that's good. So what you're seeing here on camera is only the middle 4 feet, which is about the length of this backboard. That's about 4 feet, and so you can kind of see what I'm working with. Okay, 3 and 5. That actually, I kind of dig that. Three and 5. Yep, we're gonna go 5 base widths. Okay, now when it comes to artillery, I was going with 6, 9, and 12 pounders as my default numbers. And I was going to say 24 inches, which is the length of this ruler, would be a 6-pounder. And then 36 inches, which is another foot on top of that, would be a 12-pounder. And then something in the middle would be there you go. There's a 12-pounder. And then I was which, if you think about it, this table is only 4 foot wide. And so when I design scenarios to play, I'm going to be putting them on a 4x6. Now, they're not always going to be width-wise. Sometimes they'll be length-wise. like if I was to do a Coruna Bay style scenario, the French would be attacking the British and they would be trying to push them back to the port, right? So, but I have to shrink the battle a little bit because I'm not playing a army size game. I'm playing a core size game. If I wanted to play an army sized game, I would need a bigger table because you couldn't use battalion scale. You can't do certain battles like the big battles like Leipzig or Waterloo or maybe not even Salamanca. You couldn't do those battles at the battalion scale. You would have to do a portion of those battles. Like at Waterloo, even with a 9-foot table, I wouldn't be able to do the entire Battle of Waterloo. I would have to pick and choose my battles, right? So I'd have to, like, the left flank attack, or the middle attack, or the right flank defense against the Prussians, or something like that. So that's how I plan to design my scenarios, not this 12 by 18 table doing Waterloo at the battalion scale. That would just be crazy. But just because I've designed the game at a battalion scale doesn't mean I could scale it up, right? So I want to make sure that I'm able to scale it up as well. That's another thing that's in my thought process, right? So I could say this is not just a battalion, it could be a brigade, right? I could say this is 1st Brigade, this is 2nd Brigade, and this is the division general, right? And then he's the corps commander and he's the army commander. I could do that, right? But my intent is each of these are battalions. And that guy is facing the wrong direction. He's facing that way, like, I'm out of here. No, okay. Okay, so back to artillery. Sorry. My point is, the battlefield is only going to be 4 feet wide. And if I set up, or if I deploy my army over here, right, and then they deploy their army behind that screen there, because there's about a foot gap behind the screen. If they deploy them back there, the 12-pounders are going to start in range automatically. I think that's okay to have your armies deployed within artillery range. It just seems too close. You know, I don't know. It just seems too close. And with range rulers, or I should say with base widths, it would be I would have to have this really long stick, longer than this, showing the base widths, you know, for an artillery piece. So I don't mind shaving a little bit off to get the right number of base widths, because you can see there's maybe a half-inch difference there. And I think that, I don't know, is that a good distance for a 6-pounder. Yeah, that's. Give me a second. Should have range rulers tucked away. Here they are. I want to get some range rulers out with different lengths. Okay, that should do it. Some of those others were actually inches. I made some range rulers with it. Okay, so let's see what we got here. What I would like to do is something close to 24. I want to make some. Okay, that's 22 right there. 22 inches. Which might be a really good range for a 6-pounder. I'm just trying to visualize my 6-pound ranges here. Without actually. So 22 is, what is that? 1,100 yards? Not just over 1,000 yards. I think that's a good range for a 6-pounder. Because remember, they could probably shoot a lot further, but I don't think they'd be as accurate. You can see how far that is. I think that goes off the screen, right? So. Can you see the end of it? Okay, you can. So. Uh, 6-pounder. That's a good range. I'm okay with that. I think I am okay with that. It doesn't have to be this many. I could make it one less. Or two less. How many did I make it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14. That's 14. If I made it 12 base widths, I think I can do that with the can. Okay, that's 12 base widths. Which makes a good math, right? So if I had an odd ruler that measured 6 base widths, I could do something like this. I could go measure measure, right? I could measure my 6 and then another 6. So there's 12. I like it. I like it. We're going to do it. Okay. 6-pounder is 12 base widths. Now I'm thinking point blank. I was thinking just a few inches for point blank, but I think 3 base widths. Musket range for point blank. Yeah, I think so. Point blank, 3 base widths, not 2 base widths, because I was okay. So that's your point blank, but I was thinking 2 base widths, which is approximately 150 yards. Okay, let me think about that. Canister, 150 yards. That's 1.5 football fields for canister. Yep, I think that's what it's going to be. 2 base widths. No, wait. 3 base widths is 150 yards. No, that's not true. That's not true because I'm converting base widths to inches. 3 base widths is almost 250. Yeah, so it's going to be 2 base widths. Okay, point blank, canister, grape shot, whatever you want to call it, chain shot, 2 base widths. Okay, we're working it out. Now, how far do I want my 12 pounders? Because I'm going to put the 9-pounder halfway in between. It's going to go 6, 9, 12. How far? I don't want it to be 3. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 more. That is my 6-pounder. And I'm thinking I'm just going to add 6 more for the 12-pounder, and then 3 more for the 9-pounder. Okay, so 9 will be 15, and 12 will be 24 base widths. Wow, that's a lot of base widths. No. 12 plus, no, 18. It'd be 18. There we go. 18 base widths. So what are these? What are my longest ones, I should say, that I've made? I can make different ones. I have no problem making long range rulers. Okay, these are 9, right? So 2 of these would be my 12-pounder. So if I had a 12-pound gun right there, and it was shooting that's a long distance. That is quite a bit. So I'm okay with that. I thought I was going to get away from base widths, but what I have determined was if I can take that measurements ruler, the tape measure or whatever, and take that off the table and just use and take these rulers off the table and just have measuring sticks or tools like this, because this would be 3 of these, right? So I would go 1, well, actually, go 1, 2, 3, bam, right? It would just be so much faster than a tape measure. I thought a tape measure might be faster, but it's actually not. Okay, so we got our artillery, we got our 6-pounders, our point blank range, we got our 9-pounders, we got our 12-pounders. I'm not really going to worry about 20-pound Russians right now. I can just extrapolate that. It actually might be the same as the 12-pounder. Now, something I haven't really decided yet, but I think I want to give an up or a down, if you want to call it that, for shooting over half range. Artillery already gets an up just for being artillery, so maybe I change that to they get to keep their up if it's half range. So I might say artillery within half range is an up, artillery over half range is just a normal shot. Because that's the same thing as getting a minus. So let's write that down just so I don't forget. Artillery up at half range. Okay. So what do we get? How do we get half of 15? Right? I could change that to a 16 and then make it easy to do a half. Or I could say 18 is easy, that's just 9. The 12 is easy, that's just 6. The 15 would be 7.5, which is no problem because I've got half base width measurements on here, so I could do that. Okay, so we got muskets, we got rifles, we've got artillery. Great. We got point blank. Okay, that's all taken care of. All right. 4 inches. Doesn't have to be 4 inches, but I'm going to measure 4 inches. That is approximately 2.5 base widths. Do that. So I think I'm going to give my brigade commanders three base widths because it's not much more than 4 inches. It's a little bit more, but not much more. It's about 4 3/4, so it's almost 5 inches. But 2 base widths is just too small. That's 3 inches, and that's just not big enough for the command radius, right? So I want my brigade commanders. See right there, everybody in that brigade is totally fine because you're only measuring from the edge of the base to the closest point of the battalion. So in this case, 2 base widths would suffice to put all of them into command. But giving them the extra base width, I think, will allow for something like that, right? Because that's good. And then that would allow for something like yep. So all of those battalions would still be in command from that brigade command. So, and that's a default. I might go up or down from there, but brigade 3 base widths. Okay, so here's the concept. Remember, we're not rolling dice. We're not drawing cards. We're just at the start of the turn determining who's in command. I'm thinking that if you're out of command, you're going to get a little token put by your battalion to let everyone know they're out of command. I've got little wooden blocks, various colors. I might use red ones to say you're out of command, or blue ones, or yellow ones. I don't know what color I want to use, but I am going to color code blocks as tokens to figure out various things. So if you're out of command, let's say at the start of the turn, he's there and he's way back here. So with his 3 base width range, that battalion is out of command. Okay, so I'm going to mark him with a token of some kind. In this case, I'll just put one of my averaging dice because I had that easily accessible, right? So we'll just say he's out of command. But all of these are in command, all of them are in command, and artillery is based on... Whoa, I'm tripping on my floor mat. Okay, artillery is determined as part of the organization under divisions, right? Brigades don't have artillery. Corps might have artillery, but it's all, well, Corps does have artillery. There's Corps artillery and there's divisional artillery. But Corps artillery will have to be assigned to a division commander under that corps, and then any brigade commander from that division can command that battery. So in this case, this artillery would be out of command. But if he was over a little bit, then not only would he command all of his battalions, but he would also command the artillery. So, so the command for any unit comes from the brigade commanders. So basically artillery. Now part of my thought process, I'm working this out loud with you, but it's also helping me kind of work through some of my ideas. So this is how I work. This is how I brainstorm or hash out problems. I throw a bunch of ideas out. Sometimes I write them down. Sometimes I just think about them in my head. But for this video, I'm vocalizing them. So it might sound like I'm a little scatterbrained, which I am. And that's okay, because I'm shotgunning a bunch of ideas out there, and then I'm able to kind of visualize, what did I just say? I said this and this. Well, I really like this idea, so let's pull that idea in, and let's kind of push this other idea off to the side. And that's the way I'm kind of working. So I had thought in the past that this is... I don't know if I'm going to stick with this idea because it's it's kind of command and control, the Patton method. That's what I'm going to call it, the Patton. Okay, well that is gone. I got a bunch more. Okay, so the Patton method, and I've already told you this, and I'm going to pull these figures out in a way that kind of lets you and I visualize what I'm talking about. There we go. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead. These are not all from the same nation. I just wanted to show you. All right. So you got your army commander, which in this case is Wellington, right? And then you've got your corps commander, in this case is Real, on the opposite side of the battle. And then your division commander, which is in this case Jerome. And then your brigade commander, and in this case, it's Gauthier. And then you've got your unit. Okay. And so those are the 5 levels of command. So the command starts at the very top of the chain. Most of my battles, 99% of the battles that I plan to write up as scenarios, are not going to have this element, right? He's not going to be there. Only some weird Quatre Bras style scenarios will you have an army commander on the table at the same time. But basically, you only give orders in my set of rules. You can give orders 2 levels below your status, right? So he could give orders to him. He can give orders to him. He can give orders to him. Okay, so what? And of course, the guy directly below you. So this is thought process in the past. I think I'm changing from this, but I'm just kind of giving you an idea where I'm coming from. So if he wasn't involved, like he was halfway across the map somewhere, but he was still within his command range of him, he would still be considered in command. And then he could issue orders to him or him, because this guy might be, let's say, over here with his own units, and because he can give orders to him, he would be still considered in command, and then he can give orders to them. Even though he's out of range of his brigade, he can still receive orders. I'm not doing it that way. That was the Patton method in reverse. And I realized it after I had written up those rules. I was like, I'm doing it kind of backwards. I'm letting him command 2 levels down, which according to Patton, you issue orders 1 level down. You just know where your troops are 2 levels down. Okay, so, but here, this is what we're going to do, or this is what I'm going to do. Whatever level of, because you might be only playing with you might be playing with a division only on the table, like a division against a division. If that's the case, your division commander would be considered the overall commander. He would be the major mover and shaker, right? But if you had a couple of divisions, or if the corps commander was present on the table, then he's the overall commander, and all the divisions would be under him, and then their brigades would be under them, and blah, 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 right? Okay. So whoever the most senior commander is where the buck starts, right? Where the chain of command starts, where the chain link is tied down. Okay. So once you find out, and this you'll know this like immediately during setup. You're like, okay, who's my senior commander? This guy. Boom, done. I already know who it is. So as long as he will have a command range, a radius. Now, how big that radius is, that's what we're here to work on. He's going to have a command radius. And that's going to reach out to your corps commander. Or if you have an army commander, you probably have 2 or more. If you're only playing with a corps, you probably have 2 or more divisions. If you're only playing with the division, you probably have 2 or more brigades, etc. Right? Okay. So it goes increasingly down the chain. Okay. So let's just say we're not using the army commander, because this is a corps level game. But it does apply to the army commander, but let's just say, hypothetically, we're not using the army commander in today's battle, or for the rules. The corps commander is also going to have a range, right? That he reaches out to touch and fondle his division commanders. So the division commanders need to be within his range for them to be considered in command. This is very similar to Napoleon's battles, which I love that set of rules. Okay, so he's within his command. Okay, that means this guy is automatically in command. So if he's within range, he's in command. If he is out of range, this is where I'm not sure how I'm going to handle this. If he's out of range, do I roll an initiative roll for my division to give his division orders? I think so. That's how Napoleon's battles does it. They if you're out of command at the division level, the division general gets to roll his initiative to be in command. Same thing with the corps. If the corps commander is out of range of his army, he gets an initiative. If he winds up being in command, then all of his divisions are automatically within command, because he's taken the initiative, he's giving everybody orders. Now, in Napoleon's battles, I'm comparing this. In Napoleon's battles, if you have to roll for your command, if you have to make the initiative roll, infantry get a half move and cavalry get a full move. Not sure I'm going to do it that way. I'm leaning on that, but I'm not sure. All right. So as long as everybody is within the command radius of their respective superior, then you're in command. And that means your battalions have full autonomy, right? They get to receive a command or an order or what I'm calling activation. They get to be activated. Okay. Rainos. Starting to be rain. Thinking about being rain. Okay, this is the topic of my dev blog today. Trying to decide how I'm going to resolve the ranges and whether or not there's going to be an initiative roll. I actually don't want there to be an initiative roll. I want there to be consequences. I don't want there to be a gamble. I don't want there to be gambling. I want there to be consequences. This is what I'm thinking. I could change. I can mend my words. If you're out of command, boom, you're out of command. Deal with it. Your fault. You moved him there. You put the general there. He got pushed back out of command or something, right? And then you have to adjust. Make amends. Okay, and the reason why I say this is because Napoleon's Battles is it's an army level game, not a corps level game. You're looking at brigades here, right? And you're looking at the lowest form of command is the company. There are no brigade commanders in Napoleon's Battles. That's not the style of game it is, or not the unit scale, right? So by making that initiative roll and by giving the brigade a half move, what that is saying to me is that brigade of 6 battalions or whatever it is adjusting and reforming to get themselves either in command or pushed forward. So what that's kind of telling me is that if it was this brigade, but he was over here and this guy was out of command, then this brigade wouldn't be able to move a full amount because these guys can't move. So some of these guys might be able to move, and he'll have to adjust to kind of make these guys into command for the next turn. So that gives them like an automatic half move. Or it automatically implies that the division general made the roll and it allowed them to adjust. So I'm thinking you're either in or you're out. Period. There's no what will that do? Well, it saves an extra die roll that's unnecessary. And I'm trying to get rid of as many die rolls as possible. And I want it to be a guarantee, like, these guys are in command, period. You know or you don't. That's just the way it is. Now, cavalry brigades, I think what I'm going to do is, if they are out of command, from their division, but they're still within their brigade command. Like this is a cavalry division, and he's way over here. He's way out of his division command, but the cavalry unit is still within the brigade commander's range. I think I'm going to give the cavalry a half move. But if the brigade commander is within the company commander's range, then they'll get their full move. No die roll, just automatically half move or no move if, let's say, the cavalry brigade commander is over here and they're not within range of their brigade commander. No move. Within their brigade commander's range, but the brigade is out of company, they still get a half move. And if the brigade commander is within range, full move. That's what I'm going to do. I already know. Have within brigades CR, which is command range. 1/2 move. Out of command 0 move. I'll put infantry. Okay. Yeah, so like this guy who's out of command, he would get no move. And if this guy was positioned where these other units are within 3 base widths, well, they'll get their full move and they can come up, and then hopefully he can find a position that's going to allow him to bring this guy back into command. Okay. So we got that. That's no problem. What will be the command range of the division general? Do I want a setup like this to be in command? I do not. I do not want a single division to be able to control 4 feet of the table. Don't want that. Now, I understand that most French divisions are only 2 brigades. Most British divisions are only 2 brigades. Some of them are 3, though. Do I like this area for a French division? Yes, I think this amount of area for a 2 brigade French division is about right. And then I could put another French division over here. So a division general post up right about there would give both of these brigade, I'm just visualizing, would possibly give both of these brigade commanders command let's see if I can. I'm going to put them in front to make it easier to command visually for me. Remember, this is the brigade commander's extension. Right? Okay, that's a 5, FYI. That's a 5. And I'm thinking that 5 is too big. But not really, I suppose. Um, because that guy would never be in command of this guy, even if he had 5. Okay, so let's pull this in a little bit. So let's stretch out my command as much as possible. Okay. Let's give him a 5. I was actually thinking about 8 inches, which is 5. Okay, perfect. That puts him in command there. Him in command there. And then the 3 there. Okay. 3, 5, plus the width of the base. So that's like an extra base width right there. That's a 40 millimeter base. So, and these, so this would be the area approximately of a division, which is about 36 inches wide. So on a 6-foot table, you could get 2 divisions to cover the entire length, but they would be separated, and there wouldn't be any nuance to it. That's just fully extending as much as possible. Might be too big. I want my divisions to be a lot tighter than that. Huh. Yeah, 8 might be too big for a division. 8 inches, that is. Another 3 base widths. Would that be too small? Okay, we're gonna. Okay. So that's 3, 3, and 3, 3. Right? So you got your 3 there. 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 which is approximately 5 inches. If it was a 3-brigade division, that would be really tight, because the 3rd brigade would have to be hiding back here, and okay, so 3 on the brigade and the divisions is just over 24 inches. So that, dropping it by 2 base widths from 5 to 3, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to 4. We're going to try 4. I would have to be. Okay, so there's my 3 on the end, and then these are just 4 base widths. So it gives the division general just 1 extra base width. I like it though. I'm looking at this division brigade spread, and I'm liking it. It's going to mean that the player is going to have to make some decisions, and he'll probably have to put some battalions in a reserve position, like behind certain other battalions. You can't just have your entire division online. Okay, that's about a 30-inch. Yeah. And that could change up or down. I'm going to go 4 base widths. But technically, it's 3 to 5. Because some divisions, some division commanders, I'm going to give a bigger base width range. In some divisions, I'm going to give a smaller base width range. In every army, I have a comprehensive list of all the division generals that participated in Napoleonic Wars from every nation, and their capabilities based in Napoleon's battles. And I think I'm gonna be able to take those numbers and kind of translate them into a range, and also maybe a plus minus something. But I'm not really looking for pluses and minuses out of my generals. Okay. So hypothetically, that's a French division. And let's say there's another brigade, another division on the left. We'll say it'll start right about there. right? You'll have a brigade commander that goes to there. Then you'll have a a division general. Just for markers. Here, bringing out the Duke of Brunswick. Okay. And then that's where the other division is, right? So he's got 4 to him. He's going to range out to another brigade over there, possibly maybe a brigade behind or whatever. And so that would be the middle point of the divisions. So I need a brigade or a corps needs to be able to reach these, because I think that's a reasonable setup. Okay. 9. It looks like it's 10 to reach this. So what that means is by saying 9, it's going to force them to kind of pull in a little bit. And that's kind of what I want to do. I don't want to make it so easy that you could just line your guys up and then put your divisions behind them and not worry about command. I want you to be forced to make a decision on who's in command or tighten it up so that everybody can be in command. So I'm thinking 9. Yeah, because right now it's 10. Four is 9 base widths. Now, if I made my division 5 base widths, right? Just bear with me. If I go 3, 5, and 9, he would be there. He would be within range, and he would be within range because that's 5 and that's 9, right? So, so I could make him 5 to allow that to reach out a little bit further. Plus, it would allow me to put a brigade behind. Well, actually, he's actually probably going to be back here, but it would allow for a second brigade to be back. Okay, I think I'm going to do that. Okay, so my divisions are going to be 4 to 6. Generally speaking, at 5, and the corps is going to be at 9. Not much bigger than that. Okay. And then army and wing, like this guy, right? I'm going to make it so that he can pretty much command, a corps over there and a corps over there. So 18 maybe? One of these is 7. Okay, maybe 15. Yeah, so you'll notice there's some big jumps. It goes 3, a little bit bigger, to 5, right? It goes 3, 5, then it jumps to 9, then 15. Yep, that's what we're going to do. Okay. That should not be too hard, and it's going to be base widths. All right. Last thing. Movement. Okay, these are ranges. Oh, and what does an activation mean? Okay. Well, that's going to be part of movement. Okay, so because I'm not using pips and I'm not using some kind of convoluted dice action card color means certain things, we're not going to make things harder or easier or anything like that. It's just going to be basically activation. Now, in an activation, you can move twice, right? You're going to get 2 things that you can do during movement. I had thought in the past, earlier iterations, one of those 2 things was going to be shooting, or 2 of those things was going to be shooting. Like it was going to be stand and shoot, or it was going to be a move and shoot, or it was going to be a shoot and move, or it was going to be a move and move. That was and might be how I want to do it. And the stand and shoot was not going to be roll 2 dice for every file. It's not going to be that. It was going to be you still only shoot once, but because you were stationary before you shot, you get a free up. Basically, it makes the die stronger or makes the attack better. That's what I was thinking, but I'm not sure if I want to do it that way. Now, if you remember, musket only fires 3 base widths. Yeah, let's take this guy and kind of visualize this. Each base has a 45-degree arc of where they can shoot. So that would be his arc, but he is within range. Yeah. Yeah, he's in range. So that's a 3. Okay, let's put this at kind of a max range. Just Some of the battalion can be in range, and some of the battalion can be out of range. So if, let's say it was like this, right? And I measured, he's in range, but he would be out of range. He's in arc, he's just out of range. So I would get each of these two files would shoot, and he wouldn't get a chance to shoot. So remember, the range is 3 base widths. Just FYI. So am I going to move? I was thinking that infantry was going to move 6 inches, but that was also when I was thinking infantry was going to shoot 6 inches. So and that was going to be their full move, right? So should infantry still be able to move 3 base widths? I think so. But let me kind of preface this. Let's say, because the way I'm determining what formation you're in is the number of base widths you are in. So this is a 1 base width formation. This is a 2 base width formation. This is a 3+ base width formation, because there can be a 4th base. The large units could have 4. Right? So it's basically 1, 2, and 3+. I want the ones to be able to travel further when they're activated. I want the 2 base widths to be able to travel somewhere between the 1 and the 3s, and then I want the 3 and 4s to travel the slowest for everybody. Okay. So are we going to do the stand and fire, or just let everybody fire before the activation phase? I think firing is going to be simultaneous, and everybody can do it, and then there will be movement. So if you shoot I'm not sure how the turn sequence is going to go either. But I'm thinking determine command, but nobody's activated, right? You just determine who's in command, who's out of command. Then there is declared charges. You're going to mark which units that you want to charge. He's going to mark units he wants to charge. And of course, only units that are in command are going to be allowed to charge. It's not going to be an I go, you go system. It's going to be a we go system, but there will be I go, you go elements in the we go system. And what does that mean? every turn you're going to roll initiative. The initiative is based on the modifiers of your senior commander. He's going to have a plus or a minus or a no plus to your initiative roll. Once you determine who has the initiative, then you are considered the active player. All that means is you get to do your turn first each phase. So if this brigade, and you activate by brigade. So I will go, this brigade is being activated. And then you go through each battalion in that brigade one at a time to determine what they do, and then that brigade is finished. Right? Okay. And then it goes to your opponent's turn, and he activates a brigade. He might say, okay, I'm going to activate this brigade, and then these battalions go one at a time until they're finished. And then he's done. Then it goes back to you again. And it goes back and forth, one brigade at a time until all the brigades have activated. And then that's the end of the turn. And then you go to the next turn. Okay. So it's initiative, declare charges. It alternates back and forth, starting with the active player. He goes, I'm going to charge with this guy. Well, I'm going to charge with this guy. Well, I'm going to charge with this guy. I'm going to charge with this guy. And you mark them all as charge. They're going to have a little arrow of where they're charging. And the reason why you mark the charge ahead of time is to allow your opponent to think about what kind of response they want. Do they want to stand and shoot? Do they want to flee? But I don't know if I'm going to do any of that. I don't know if I'm going to do stand and shoot and all that, because why don't I just, because I think I'm just going to have everybody shoot. Oh, there's forming square. Because if I've got cavalry and I say, okay, I'm going to charge these guys, well, now I have to decide, am I going to just stand there, or am I going to change formation to a square or whatever? But that's a decision that you have to make when the charge is conducted. Remember, scatterbrain, shotgun blast, all my information. Okay. Because I don't know if you need to actually declare your charges. Because when your battalion is active or your brigade is activated, I could just move these guys up into contact, and that would be technically considered a charge. And if that is a charge with cavalry, then they get their chance to form square. So I don't know if you need to declare charges. Oh man. Because I want it to be very similar to Meg, but I want it to be easier and faster and smoother than. Okay, so we have the initiative, no problem. We're going to activate, but okay, we're going to fire. At some point, we're going to fire, and then we're going to activate her brigade. Okay, so basically, initiative, declare charges or not, I'm not sure. and then fire, and then activate a brigade. Because the charge can be part of the activation of that brigade. Mind is just throwing out ideas. So if I activate this brigade and this guy is marked with a charge, he'll be obligated to move up during the charge. Now, wait a second. If I mark them with a charge, this is something. If I mark them with a charge before the fire phase, maybe I say they don't fire. And then, which if they're cavalry, they probably don't care about that anyway, right? But if they're infantry, they might, if they're marked with a charge, they don't get a chance to shoot. Because they're running forward or whatever. Trying to make contact. Bayonets. I'm not worried about shooting. If you're marked with a charge, you don't get to shoot. If you're not marked with a charge, can't make contact with the enemy. You can get close. You get as close as you want. You just can't make contact. If a cavalry unit is marked with a charge and the infantry unit has a choice, they can either shoot during the fire phase or they can form square. The shooting might be something they consider to be an advantage. They might be behind a brick wall or something, and they don't want to form square, so they just shoot. But see, I'm thinking that by forming square, they're taking up time organizing and getting in line and getting in square. They're not shooting. That's only if they react. So they, okay. So, yeah, we're going to declare charges. Fire if able. Okay. Where form square or chargers, no fire. Okay. I'm thinking that actually works out because I want my units to form square without having to roll a die. Right? I want it just to be automatic. Just form square. You can opt to form square as part of your movement. Like if you anticipate someone charging you, you can form square ahead of time, or you can form square as a reaction. You don't get to shoot. You sacrifice your shot to get that form square. I think that if a cavalry unit, and I've thought about this, the close charge. If a cavalry unit gets close and then charges you, you do not have enough reaction time to form square. So I think there's going to be a minimum distance that a cav unit and I think it's going to be 3 base widths. Because that's like they've gotten very close and now they're charging you don't have enough time to form square. Okay. Yep, that's true. Have charge from 3 base widths or less. No square. Okay. So if I get within 3 base widths with cavalry, and then I declare a charge, well, they're obviously not going to be permitted to form square, so you might as well just stand and shoot, just fire. Okay, so fire if able, then we're going to activate by brigade. Now, this is a timing thing, which I think I like. If the friend, let's say I've got a charge over here and I've got a charge over here, and it's my turn because I'm the active player, and I charge over here, and we work out the charge itself and the brigade's movement and everything. They work that out, and then it comes back to the French player's turn. I'm just using this as an example. And he sees that he's got a cavalry unit within 3 inches or 3 base widths. He could activate this unit and form square as part of his movement. Right? And he squandered the opportunity to charge and preventing him from forming square because he decided to charge over here first. So that means you have to decide which brigade you're going to activate first. So the British player should have activated this brigade first, charged him before the French player had an opportunity to move him. Okay. So you're activating by brigade. Now, the way Meg works is you do like a charge move into contact, and then everybody shoots, and then you go into a melee phase. So you get a charge, shoot, melee. I believe that's how that works. Pull my Meg rules out. Try to find the turn sequence. Remember, we're not abiding by this turn sequence strictly. Okay, the way they go is charges first. You declare charges. Then you move chargers. Actually, you declare charges, then you shoot chargers. Then you move the chargers. Then you perform charge combat. And then it goes to the shooting phase. And you shoot. Then after the shooting phase, you do all your movements that weren't charges. And then once movement is done, then you do a fighting phase. I don't think I want to do that. I don't know how I want to do this. I don't know if I want to do that. Okay, I'll let that I'll let that kind of gestate in my head for a minute. We're going to work on movement, ranges, and distance. Okay, I think now remember I'm going to do the move and shoot. I'm going to do the shoot and move. I think I'm going to do those actions. No, everybody's going to get to shoot during the fire phase. Never mind. Everybody's firing during the fire phase. So what are the actions going to be? Okay, maybe there doesn't have to be two halves. Maybe I can do move this far or move that far. Okay. So if it's just pure move, nothing else, it'll be based on 1 base width, 2 base widths, or 3 plus base widths infantry, and then cavalry. And I'm not sure if I'm going to do light and heavy cav. I think I am. Might just be cavalry. Okay. So I'm thinking 3 or more base widths can move 3 base widths. I think so. And then 2 base widths do I want them to move odd numbers like that? Maybe 3, 5, and 9? No, that's 7. 7 in a march column? That's a pretty long ways to move. It's basically almost 12 inches. Yep, I think so. Okay. So my columns are going to move 5 base widths. My attack columns, they're going to get to move 5 base widths. Lines are going to move 3 base widths. And march columns are going to move 7 base widths. Okay. That's simple enough to figure that out. Squares, I'm going to allow squares not to move. 0 movement. Cavalry. Cavalry will have the same restrictions. The 1, the 2, and the 3 plus. But their base width movements are going to be a lot bigger. I think cavalry. Cavalry and 1 base width. I think I'm going to do 12 base widths. Because that's like 19 inches. So in March column, cavalry is going to be flying at 19. In line, I think I'm going to do 5. So the 2 base width thick line or march column, I think I might go 7. Five, 7, 12. Okay. Now I thought about halving these numbers and saying that was that's half of the movement action. And like if you move, you get to add them both together, right? Because you get like a move and a move. Okay, wheeling, right? Wheeling, if this formation can only move 3 base widths, well, there's 3 base widths, and you'll just wheel out to there. It didn't slow them down or anything. They just adjusted. That means no base moves further than 3 base widths. Now I'm thinking that a unit that wants to like turn, they can immediately turn 90 degrees as one of their moves. Do I want to give them 3 and 3 for a total of 6 base widths? Because 2 and 2, a 2 base width move is like 3 inches. So a 2 and a 2 is over 6 inches. I think I might do that. Because that way, right, if I give them a 2 and a 2, they can move 4 base widths, or they can move 3 base widths. I'm sorry, 2 base widths with a something else. And that something else, I'm thinking, is don't pull from the back. Don't pull from the front. Is to extend the line, right? That's one of their 2 actions. Or to contract the line. That's one of their two actions. So they could contract or extend and still move 2 base widths. Or they could contract one more time and not move at all. Right? Okay. Yeah, so I think I'm going to do that. So I'm going to have to redo this. Infantry and cav, 2 base widths. Now understand these are half moves. Okay. 3 base widths for a column, I think would work fine. I don't see too big of a deal with that. Because that means a column could move 6 base widths, which is almost 10 inches, which I'm okay with that. And then in March column, four and 4 would be 8. If all they did just move line could get that far. That's kind of actually maybe too far. And then 3 would be 6. Okay. You're looking at a line, march column, I'm sorry, an attack column, and a march column. I don't think that's, I think that's too big. And I don't think that's, I think that's way too big as well. Okay. If I move a march column to there, that should be 4. That should be 3. Okay. 5. I want the march column to be around six. Okay, 4 is there, and okay. One of the advantages that I'm going to declare is that a march column gets to move even if it's out of command. The march columns will always get a chance to move. And that's one of the big advantages of being in march column. You'll get to move, but you'll also get to move further. So I think that was 4. I don't even know how far that. One, two, three, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Yep. So 4 base widths for the march column, 3 base widths for the attack column, but it has to be in command. And then 2 and 2. That means they get to move that far, and I don't think I want my lines to move that far. I want it to be the maximum of 3. So 1.5. Yep. 1.5. That's going to be odd. So you measure from the second rank. Or if they're just double moving, you just move 6 or 3. Okay, because I want lines to be a lot slower. So line, column, march column, free, move, even if out of command. Yeah, I dig that. I think that's fine. And those are half moves. Okay. Now cavalry is going to get march column 6 and 6, which is like 19 inches. Yeah, I like it. Cavalry. Six. I'm visualizing these units as if they were cavalry. So I'm going to adjust to a sideways measurement scheme. Most cavalry is 4 stands. So they're very rarely going to be in 3 or more columns or files. But if they had 6 stands, or actually they could put 4 online if they really wanted to. Okay. So six means march column moves that far for the cav. Lines or extended lines should only move about this far. More than 6. Maybe 7? Nope. It's going to be halved. So 8. Okay. So Cav's going to get to move pretty quickly. I'm going to get 4 base wits. If it is 2, if it's 3 or more, they're going to move 3. Okay. So 3, 3 if it's a line. 4 and 4 if it's a tack on. Thick line for cavalry. And 6 and 6 if it's a large column. Okay. Artillery's gonna. I'll work on artillery at a different time, but artillery is going to be based on heavy guns or light guns. It's going to be okay. There's a chat. See what you got on the chat. Not next to my. Hey, go for it. Hello to you as well. Thank you for joining us. I've been kind of working on my ranges, my measurements, my command and controls. Trying to visualize it using the miniatures, how far distances are, how compact the command ranges need to be. And now I've got that down. I know what my weapon ranges are. I know what my movement speeds for infantry and cavalry based on what formations they're in. Finally, I need to decide how I'm going to do charges, right? I think, and I'm not sure, but I think the sequence of play is going to be something like this. These guys, however they are, it's going to be something like this. We're going to roll for initiative for whatever senior commanders you have. You're going to get your dice off. And then whoever wins is the active player. That's locked in. That's exactly what it's going to be. Now I struggle. I think what I want to do is, and I did order these from Litco. I ordered some charge markers. I can also make some charge markers. I've been thinking about taking some of these bases and drawing an arrow on them and writing the word charge and making a charge marker. I've got some 15 millimeter depth ones that I thought I was going to be using that I basically abandoned. So I could make a whole bunch of charge markers. I could spray paint them like red or something so they really stand out on the table. I think I might do that actually. But I ordered some Litco charge markers. This is a Litco range ruler. Got a couple of these. But yeah. Okay. So I think I'm going to declare charges in order of active player first. So, like, he decides he's going to charge, and I'll put a little marker, and it'll point in the direction of the charge. And you can tell the opponent, you can say, this guy is charging that guy. And then you put an arrow next to him, pointing at that guy. Everybody on the planet knows who's charging. So what's happening is, in my mind, visualizing the tabletop. These guys are fixed bayonets. They're getting out of their little, they're kneeling and firing positions. They're formed up and they are moving forward, right? So they have decided they are charging, and everybody can see that on the table. And then everybody declares charges. Nobody has actually moved yet. You've just stated, hey, I'm charging. Then we decide, then you do firing. Everybody on the table that's within range now fires. And a unit that is being charged is automatically considered in range, right? So, because they don't have to shoot, they're technically not not shooting. Excuse me. They're technically not shooting when they're way away. They're shooting as they close. So when these guys start moving, trugga, when they get within range, they unload. Boom. So a charged unit can always fire. Hearing the ice maker drop ice. Okay, so he's declared charges. Then we fire if able. What that kind of means is if this artillery piece gets charged on the side, he doesn't fire because he's not in his arc. Or if this guy gets charged in the side or the rear, he doesn't fire. Another thing is if you are being charged by cavalry and you've decided as a reaction to form square, you don't get to shoot. You have opted to trade the shot for the square. So you go with the square. If when's another time you can't? Okay, so the charger, the one doing the charging, cannot shoot as well. So once you figured out who can fire and who can't fire, everybody on the table fires, right? Now this guy might get shot, and you know that the Meg shooting rules has this thing called slowed by fire, right? So let's say he's got a 3 base width charge, which he does, right? So as long as one of these can make it, I'm not sure what the rules are. I'm going to have to figure out how I want to do that. But like this guy is definitely in range to charge, but this guy is not in range to charge, and neither is this guy. But when the unit hits, I'm going to force units to align with units. So this guy gets a little boost in distance to charge, right? So he's going to get a little push in the back. So he'll actually make that little adjustment to align. I'm going to do that. So as long as one of the files is in range to charge, then the unit can charge. But if, let's say, during the fire phase, he shoots at him and successfully slows him down by 1, well, now he can't make it. So he will stop short, which is perfectly fine. That happens. Okay. So yeah, we're going to declare charges, fire if able, and then we're going to go to that's everybody fires. So, and it's fire by active. Fire is considered simultaneous, so it doesn't matter who fires first. Just mark the casualties, and then once all the firing's done, or once these two guys fire at each other and you figure out who lost who, then pull the figures, and you just work. Anyway, it doesn't matter how you do it. All fire is simultaneous. And then you activate your brigades that are in command, starting with the active player. So the active player says, okay, I'm going to activate this brigade, and then you move everybody in that brigade that's in command, including the guys that are charging. So they are moved during the activation phase. Right. Now, at that point, all the other movements happen. It's irrelevant, right? All the other movements are irrelevant. Let's say they're not slowed by combat, and they do come into melee, and they're aligned, right? And on the first round, you do what's called charge melee, right? So on that initial turn that you fly into combat, you get what's called the charge phase, and you do a charge round, right? And then in the same phase, this is where I'm not sure how I want to do it. So you activate your brigade, he charges in, and he does charge combat. There's going to be some losses on both sides, possibly. And then that would be the end of the charge phase, or the activation phase. Now, when this guy activates his brigade, he can activate his other battalions, but he cannot activate this one because he's in a melee. And at that point, if he's already activated, then it doesn't matter. That fight is over. But if they haven't activated, when he activates this brigade, they have to fight a melee round. Are you with me? Because there is something different from the charge, which is just the first 30 seconds of the fight. And then there's something called the melee, which is the scrum, where everybody is embroiled in some kind of fight. Now, during that melee, can he add people to him to support him? No, because the only way to get into contact was through a charge or a counter charge. So he can move guys up to charge on the next turn or something like that. He can position, move up and get ready for the next round of fighting. And we'll have to, I'll worry about this working out results in the future, but there's going to be losses taken, right? And then there's going to be, but there's not going to be any kind of, I've won the combat, you've lost the combat, you have to fall back, or something like that. I've thought about that. Actually, I did think about that. And I'm not sure how I'm going to work that, but there is a possibility that, let's say, in the charge, this unit loses a stand, and this guy only takes a wound, right, which is half a stand, basically. This unit is not destroyed. This unit is not destroyed. At the end of the melee phase, not the charge phase, you don't fall back from a charge unless you're cavalry. cavalry have a chance to bounce. I want cavalry to charge up, do combat during the charge phase, and then fall back. But I want that to be voluntary. I don't want it to be mandatory. So like if they want to stay up there and be in melee, they can. I know like in other games, if they fail to break the unit, they immediately bounce back, disordered or whatever. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave them in contact. Or they have the option to fall back if they want. And I'll work that out in a future date. But if they fall back, they're going to fall back a good distance because cavalry can move. Like in this formation, they can move 3 base widths with half a move. So I think I'm going to let them do a full 6 base width fallback. Right, so they'd be back here. Well, actually, they would be back here, but they would be facing away from the enemy. And that's how I'm going to resolve being disordered. Not actually marking anybody with disordered. I'm just having them face away from the enemy. Because turning around is going to be effectively them getting rid of disordered. Right? Okay. But if they are able to destroy the unit during the charge, then they can press on forward and continue on with future charges. Okay, I forgot where I was. But I did the initial charge, we did the initial combat, and I lost a stand, and he only lost a wound, right? If that is the case, I'm thinking the loser automatically has to fall back. So if he charged in, and he's the one that took a wound, and this guy's the one that lost a stand, he automatically has to fall back. But I don't know. I'm going to have to dwell on that. I'm going to have to think about that. Because remember, I'm trying to get rid of as many die rolls as possible. I'm thinking that it has to be pretty dramatic. So maybe if you lose twice as many in the charge phase. So like, which that would be, because if he lost a stand, that's 2 wounds. And if he lost a wound, that's 1 wound. That is twice as many. But I don't think that's enough to cause the unit to fall back. Maybe it's more than twice as many. So maybe if he lost a stand, okay, and he lost nothing, then that is more than twice as many. If he lost 1 wound, that's more than twice as many. That's too flimsy. And that also might be based on the quality of the troop, too. So, like, the elites wouldn't fall back, where militia might fall back immediately. So, I think I'm going to assign a no. Okay, that's what we're going to do. I think I'm going to assign a number to their battalions. If you lose this many wounds, you fall back. If you lose this many wounds in one phase, you fall back. So it'll probably be like 3. Like if you take a stand and a wound, and it has to be the difference. Because if this guy lost a stand, the difference is only 1 wound. So that would not cause a fallback. Maybe the difference... See, these are things that I think about. I don't want it to be a die roll. I don't want it to be, okay, you've lost, so let's roll a morale check to see if you fall back. No, I don't want that. I want it to be a hard, fast number. Like, okay, you hit this number, you have to fall back. Now, once this unit loses, this is the case for every unit, but once you lose half and take an extra wound, you're immediately eliminated. So this whole unit would be picked up. So that's too much because that's already a kill. But I think two stands would definitely be a fallback. Somewhere near there. And a fallback is you just move 2 base widths back, right? So a fallback just means you get pushed back, still facing to the front, 2 base widths directly to the rear, and then your opponent, the one that did the casualties to you, can choose on his own to, and this is voluntary, to stand where he is or to press in and maintain contact. So the infantry can actually get in there and gradually move your battalions backwards. But I'm not sure how many numbers that's going to be. But that's not what we're worried about. What I'm worried about is my activation and phase and what the commands are. Okay. So here we go. Let's talk about orders. When your brigade is activated, and I'm putting it on paper now, and I'll be putting it into my document later. One of the orders would be move twice, right? Or just move, double move. Double move. And all that means is you take 2 move actions. Okay. A wheel is part of your move action. So if he can move 3 base widths, all you got to do is measure from the outside edge, wherever you want it to be, and then you just position that guy right there, and then you just take everybody else and line them up right there. And that was a 3 base width move, even though a march column should be able to move 4 base widths. But that's all right. Okay, so you could do that and then do 1 extra move, 1 extra base width forward. That is considered a 1/2 of your move. And then and with a double move, you just get to do that twice. You get to move again, wheel the other direction or whatever. So you have the double move. Okay, let me put this over here. March column. Okay, so I was thinking everybody gets those 2 moves, right? They get their move and move, or move and formation change, or move and about face, or 90-degree turn and a move, or something, right? Well, March column, I was thinking they get one of those 2 moves for free, whether they're in formation, in command or not. They'll always get at least 1 free move. But I'm thinking that they should get they should get all their moves. Because they're basically, they know where they're going. They're in a march column. They've been given orders to go from point A to point B. Yeah. March column always moves. Or always activated. Okay, so yeah, march columns, they're always going to get to activate. Now, I know in some rule systems, like Napoleon's Battles, they only get that ability if they're on a road, and I'm saying you don't have to be on a road. You can get it anywhere you go. Okay, so one of them, the easy one, is double move. Basically, you get to move twice. Your movement distance is based on hold on, here we go. The movement distance is based on the move or the base width, the formation you're in when you start that half move. So, this guy's in and retracting or extending one base width, one file, is a half move. So, in this formation, they would only get 1.5 base widths of movement. And they could do it twice for a total of 3, right? They can move 3 base widths. Right about there. But if they decide to contract by 1 base width with their first move, their second move, now they get to move 3 base widths. So they can contract and move the same distance. They get it. Because the second move was based on the 2 base width wide. Okay, let me think about this. Maybe I don't want to do it that way. Okay. If they start in 2, they could move 6 base widths in this formation. There we go. That's if they did a double move, 3 and 3. But let's say they contract a base width. Now they're getting the march column movement, which is only 4 base widths. Yeah, okay, so they wouldn't get the full amount going to... Okay. But you would get the full amount if you went from line to column. And then, of course, extending would just slow you down, right? Because in march column, you normally would get 6 base widths twice. No, wait, that's cavalry. 4 base widths twice. So that march column should be able to move 8 base widths. Right? And then, but they decide in their first action, okay, I'm gonna try another measurement here. they do the extension to column. Now they only have 3 base widths. Which puts them there. Okay. Now let's try something different. If they take their first move as a march column, they'll move 4 base widths. Which puts them there, which is further, and then your second half extend. There we go. All that works. All that is just fine. So move and expand. Move. And retract. Or and retract. 2. Yeah, so you can move before or after you extend. When you do, you have to use the current formation that you're in, not the formation you started in, just the formation, the current formation you changed into. Unless, of course, you move first, and then extend or retract. Or you can use both actions to extend once and then extend twice. And that would be your 2 actions. Okay. Wheeling, again, is just part of your movement. Forming square is okay. You must be okay. It's half an action, right? It's square and move, or retract and square. So just form square gives you either a movement or an expansion or retraction. And I'm thinking you can't do it from march column. So the march column would have to extend by 1, and then the second half would be form square. Or if you're in a line, you can move 1.5 and then form square. So we can move that far and then form square. And that's the size of my squares of a regular standard. Okay. So square is a little complicated when it comes to who can move and what can do. Where 2 miles limber or unlimber is limber, unlimber, and move. So like got our artillery battery, it's out there deployed, fighting. That those 3 bases equal the artillery battery. He wants to limber up, so we kind of adjust this out of the way. We adjust one of the guns out of the way. We put the limber beside the gun where the gun was picked up, and then we just take all the guns, line them up behind. That was a limber, and then he gets to move. I'm thinking he's moving 5 base widths. 5 base widths. That might be a little now if he's limbered, he can move twice 5 base widths for a total of 10 base widths, which close to 16 inches. Yeah, there's not going to be any stand and fire. Like if you don't move, you get a bonus to shooting. Don't think so. Yeah, because there was an action to shoot and then an action to stand and shoot, but I've gotten rid of that. Shooting is just shooting. Movement is just movement. So everybody gets to shoot during the shooting phase, except for chargers. And then and people that form square with a reaction, they don't get to shoot. I think that's it, because that doesn't really, not a whole lot of actions that need to worry about. Okay, that's not true. So if coming out of a square allows you to just pick two or three. So if you want to come out of a square in a line, you can. If you want to come out of a square in a column, you can. That's half a turn, right? Going in or out of square. And then now you can move. And so now he can move as per a column. You can't come out of a square into a march column. So that'd give him like a 3. He can get out of square, and then move 3 base widths. Yeah, that's no problem. About face and things like that. Okay. I think about face is one of the 2 movement actions. I don't think it would take your entire move to turn around. I don't think it should. So it's going to take 1 movement action. About face and move. About face and move. No problem. And then turn and move. So it's not a wheel. It's a turn. So with it being 3 ranks in depth, if I turn to the right, that's a 90-degree turn and an extension. So it's like I'm getting a free extension. And then if I turn to the right, let's say I turn, now I'm getting a reduction for free. Do I want to say that's a whole turn to do a right flank, left flank? If I do, then an about face should probably be, no, I'm not going to do about face. About face is a simple thing. Turning left and right is pretty simple as well. Yep, I'm going to do a turn and move. Okay, so you can turn one way or another, maintaining your ranks turn into files. So like those 3 ranks now become three files. And that would be considered half of your move. And then you would take whatever else to get your second half of your move. So you get that. Okay. So not expanding or retracting, but moving echelon, you can move echelon, huh? I'm not going to do I thought about doing a 45 degree, you don't have to go perfectly straight. You can kind of slide like that. What I have seen is a line only moves a base width and a half as half his move. So start there. You end there. This is straightforward. But I was thinking that I can shift 1 base width left or right That winds up being about a 45 degree, doesn't it? That's actually a little bit more than 45 degrees, I think. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So you get one base width shift to the left or right after each move. So if I move a second, now I see I'm not measuring at an angle, I'm measuring straight forward and then shifting. So there's a slight difference in measurements. Okay, so this unit, with both of its actions, could move to there, which normally it can only move 3 base widths, and that's further than 3 base widths, because it's 3 to the straight to the front with 2 base widths to the side. So echeloning lets it speed up. I don't want it to do that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just say you can echelon up to 45 degrees. Because that way it keeps you back at your movement. Okay, so you can echelon 45 degrees. Okay, now sideways. So let's say you want to move directly to the side. Well, you can just shift 1 base width to the left or right per movement. Okay. Sideways equals 1 base width per move. Okay. So you could just pick this up, put it there. You could pick this up and put it there, and that would be your 2 sideways moves. And then you could just adjust these guys. Okay, so we got our sideways, we got our echelons, we got our turns, we got our about faces, limbering, unlimbering, expanding, retracting, moving, and then in the order phase, you've got declare charges. Then you fire if you're able, and then you activate by brigades, and the units that declared charges can now move into contact. When they do, that is a charge combat. The initial contact is a charge combat, which is conducted immediately before you move on to any other brigade activations or movements. And then if the brigade that you just charged already activated, then that's fine. You just leave it like that, pending any pushbacks. And then, but if that brigade has not acted yet, when that brigade finally is activated, because all brigades must be activated, once it's activated, then you conduct a melee round, pending pushbacks. Cavalry. Okay. Cavalry hits the charge. if they fail to push back, because if they charge forward, they do enough casualties to cause the unit to be pushed back. Remember, the follow-up is optional. So the cavalry does not have to follow up. It can stay. Now, if the unit that he hits does not get pushed back, the cavalry must bounce back facing away from the unit charged. It gets a free full move, double move. Okay. Brigade commanders have I'm doing a little recap in my head. Brigade commanders have a 3 base width command radius. Division commanders that command these brigades have a, what do I got it written down? 5 base width command radius. Oh, that's too big. That's what she said. Has a 5 base width command radius, and then your corps commander, which is probably the largest unit you're going to use on the table, unless you're playing something like a multi-corps battle, has a 9. So you got your corps reaching out to all of its divisions within 9. Divisions reach out by 5 to its brigades, and then brigade has a 3 base width for his brigades. And the army or wing commanders are going to have like a 15 base width radius, which, yeah. Now, here's the question. Am I going to allow the brigade command or the overall commander to command divisions, right? Superseding or overriding or skipping the corps commander? I think the answer is yes. I don't know if I want that to be the truth. I think the answer is yes. So if he's somewhere not to be found and he's got a 15-inch or 15 base width, he can still reach out to the division commanders. Okay. Am I going to allow corps commanders to reach out to their brigades? The answer is no. The buck stops there at the division. So the division commander has to be within range of a corps or an army. Okay, I think I pretty much resolved everything for my command and control and my turn sequence. Okay, well, I'm going to pick up all my miniatures. I'm going to clean off my table, and I'm going to sit down and pass out probably. But what I would like to let you know is we do have our Traveler game tomorrow night, 6 o'clock Central Time, and I'm looking forward to that because we missed last week. We didn't get to play. But I am currently working on some Polish for a commission. But in addition to those Polish, I've decided to do the 4th regiment. I'm just doing 2 battalions of 6 because the regiment should be 2 battalions or 3 battalions of 5, right? 5 bases, something like that. But instead of doing that, I consolidated. No, actually, one of them is only like 2 stands. Another one is like 5 stands, and one is like 5 stands. So it wound up being 12 stands total. But instead of doing 3 battalions, I'm just going to do 2 battalions of 6. Okay, so that's what I'm doing with them. I learned something. I might have known this 100 years ago, but I lost my mind, and so I regained it. So, re-looking at the French light battalions and their uniforms, the figures that I have all have epaulets, right? And the Voltigeurs are all wearing Colpacks, the Busby style fur hats. And I looked at my painting ideas because I was like looking at the website that I frequent for Waterloo style paint jobs. And they show them with no epaulets. And I was like, wait a second. I thought light brigades or light battalions all had green epaulets. And, even the regular chasseurs. And that was another thing. I was calling the Voltigeurs chasseurs because I thought the regular line were like fusiliers or musketeers. And I thought their light companies were not called Voltigeurs, but they were called chasseurs. But I was mistaken. The center companies in a light battalion are chasseurs, and the light unit is called the Voltigeur unit is actually called a Voltigeur unit. And the grenadiers are not called grenadiers, they're called... they might be called grenadiers. I don't know, but I was really looking at the Voltigeurs and the epaulets and stuff like that. And I learned something. The light battalions in the 1809 to 1812 time period did have epaulets. But when they were reformed in 1814, which translates to also 1815, when they were reformed, they did not have epaulets. So technically, and the Colpacks and the bear skins on the grenadiers should be regular shakos, right? So they pretty much got rid of that bearskin Colpack epaulet when they reformed and redid their uniforms. But the miniatures I have apparently are the 1812 campaign dress. Or maybe even full dress, which is okay. I'm going to paint them the way I'm going to paint them. I'm going to paint them as the 1812, 1809, 1812 light with the Colpacks and the bearskin caps, just like those Smoking Joes. Those guys all... yeah, these guys all have the green epaulets. And the lights have the Colpacks, and the grenadiers have the bearskins. So this is old style uniform where the technically, if I wanted to be accurate, like perfectly accurate, they should not have epaulets, but I don't care. I'm doing it my way. All right, guys. Look for another video where I do another update letting you know where I stand. I'm not going to show off any more figures, but I am going to let you know where I stand in the rules and what new figures I'm working on, where I'm at with those. And there should not be another Wargaming video tomorrow. I'm going to be working on my Traveler game before the game, and so maybe Thursday. All right, guys, I'll catch you on the flip side.